And I did something about
Dude, what? It's right above us.
Oh my God, it's so close.
First it was New Jersey, now you got people in New York, from the Bronx to Staten Island, even in Maryland, saying they are seeing drones flying in the sky. And now you've got Trump and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle saying maybe they should be shot down, while the White House is basically saying nothing to see here. I'm Gotti Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. And the mystery drone saga continues with every day bringing more confusion in the absence of straight, solid, verifiable answers from the federal government. And it's turning into a situation where local leaders are saying they're being told by law enforcement, yes, the drones are real. There is nothing they can do to stop them, while the White House is saying people shouldn't be worried and there are no confirmed reports of drones. Well, guess what that is going to cause? That is going to cause more chaos, more people starting to think they see drones everywhere, even in planes flying above. And in that chaos, even wider cracks in our airspace for any actual drones to continue to fly through with impunity. Here's what lawmakers in Staten Island are saying today.
What if there were 3,000 reports of drones or manned aircraft sightings over the U.S. Capitol, or the White House, or the State House in Albany? What would happen? There would be an immediate and intense response to figure out what they were and to solve the problem.
What would happen? We're going to start tonight with NBC's Aaron McLaughlin.
First drone of the night, just getting home from work.
Tonight, as the mysterious sighting spread from Maryland to New York, New Jersey.
I've never seen anything like it.
And beyond. So too do calls from local and state officials for answers and accountability.
No state can become the Wild West of drone activity.
And now high-profile officials are among those reporting sightings. Last night, former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan says he captured this video appearing to show dozens of large drones hovering over his home. The same evening, U.S. Senator Andy Kim says he saw this over a reservoir while out drone hunting with local police.
Some appear to hover or at least seem to be in position.
That sighting among the 79 reports overnight in New Jersey, according to a senior official, with reports every evening since November 18th, except for Thanksgiving. The state's governor firing off a letter to the president demanding answers, saying that existing laws limit the ability of authorities to counter this activity.
We don't know who's flying them or what information they're collecting.
While in Mendham, New Jersey, the mayor is taking action, setting up a task force to track the activity.
So this started in November. Is it possible that people just started looking up in November?
I think it's possible. I spoke to the sheriff. He told me drones have been around for a while, but not to this degree.
The Naval Weapons Station Earl also confirming several instances of unidentified drones entering the airspace above the facility.
The FBI should be standing at a podium of the Department of Homeland Security and briefing the public.
Tonight, the FAA responding for the first time on camera to the drone sightings, reminding the public of the rules.
It's okay to fly them in most areas as long as you stay below 400 feet. And if you're flying at night, the drone must have certain lighting.
With anxiety spreading online,
Because I'm freaking out over here.
officials acknowledge there are still many more questions than answers.
Here in Mendham, New Jersey, in the last half hour, we've seen a number of what appears to be drones, all flying erratically with flashing lights. Back to you.
Aaron McLaughlin in New Jersey, thank you. Now, when it comes to these drones, some people are saying shoot first, ask questions later, but that might be not so easy. NBC's Sahil Kapoor has more on that from the Capitol.
Now, there have been some suggestions that the government simply shoot down these drones. President-elect Trump has floated that as well. Two things to remember here. The first issue is the law. The Pentagon's legal authorities to shoot down aircraft are limited for obvious reasons. The second is the impact. You can't shoot down a drone without it falling somewhere, potentially in civilian areas, potentially in homes, without incurring some damage there as well. One way or another, the federal government's current posture of downplaying these drones without a satisfying explanation is not cutting it for prominent elected officials in both parties. Gotti?
Well, Sahil, thank you. Let's bring in one of those New Jersey mayors who was called to the briefing by the New Jersey State Police, Mike Ghasalli, mayor of Montvale. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. I know you left that meeting frustrated with a lack of who is behind these drones, but at least at that meeting, they did confirm that these are drones flying, right? That's unlike what we saw from the White House.
Thanks for having me. Yes, so they called us to go to do a briefing in person at the headquarters of the state police. We drove 2 hours in the rain. We got there, about 250 mayors, and they told us, by the time you leave, you'll know everything that we know. And I quote, it's going to be really nothing. What we know is that these drones are about the size of a small car. They hover for 5 to 6 hours, and they don't emit any frequencies, so they can't track it. And they don't know where it's coming from and where it's landing. That's what we came out from. But they are over my town. They are over the reservoir that we drink from, over the schools, over the grid. So it's very, very frustrating that we don't know who is operating these drones.
It's frustrating. And then you see the White House say that there is no cause for concern. But, I mean, there was an intelligence briefing, a bulletin, I believe, that was sent out to New Jersey fire departments in that area saying that if they find a downed or crashed drone, they should call the closest hazmat team and the closest bomb squad. How concerned are the people you represent? Very concerned. Like I said, we don't know what they are. We see them. Yesterday, I saw about 3 of them in sync. They seem to be worked by a computer, maybe, because they were in perfect sync and they were in a pattern with lights on. And that's what's so confusing. If someone was to do a nefarious mission, they should go dark. But these have lights on. They are in a pattern, and then they show up. And then they're gone. We can't track them. We don't know what they're doing. And the concerning part is that they're over the reservoir. That's very concerning to us. So, and they're over the reservoir regularly. I mean, if somebody wanted to, they could go out there with infrared cameras with high fidelity sensors and see them. And like, why hasn't that happened? I don't know. I own a small drone. It's a handheld drone. And if I fly it above 400 feet, I get a message that I'm in violation and to drop to below 400 feet. So the FAA, it's registered with the FAA. So the FAA has my name, my number, my email, my drone's serial number and model number. If they were to just take the database and just hone down or just send out a message to all the owners, can you account for your drones? Do you know, are you doing anything on this day between these these times? That should be done right away. They have the information. I haven't received anything. I have my drone here. I fly it for hobby, but there are 700,000 drones that they can just send a mass email and say, account for your drone, guys. Do you have your drone in your hands? And I mean, you fly drones. There are going to be, in all of this confusion, a lot of misidentified planes. Based on what you've seen, how confident are you that what you're seeing are drones and not possibly like a plane on approach to Newark or one of the airports near there? We are on a track to Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. Montvale, Park Ridge, and all the way down to Teterboro. We see planes all the time. These are not planes. They're hovering, they're going up, they're coming down, they're going backwards, they are doing circles. And then when they hit a cloud, people think that they shut the lights off. It's actually the cloud shutting off the lights for them. They're going behind the cloud. So I would say with high confidence, maybe 90% are planes. People are confusing them with small planes. At least 10% of those are real drones. I think that is such an important distinction to make, because a lot of people are watching this from other parts of the country, or they see what's obviously a plane and they're like, oh no, everyone is dumb. These are all planes. Everybody has gotten this wrong. And yet we're not talking about the 90%. We're talking about the 10% that possibly pose a national security risk. When you go out and you see these drones, is there anything that you use to kind of verify or check for any air traffic around? I know I've got an app. In fact, I was out there recently, and there's an AR overlay, if we have that video, you can see this is Flight Radar 24, and that shows all the different flights that are around, how far they are. Some of those flights are on a little bit of a delay, but it gives you an idea if you're out there and you're seeing some weird lights, whether or not there's an actual plane in the vicinity of what you're looking at. Mayor, have you been using these things, or are there any recommendations that you have to people that are like, I see something, I should double check and see if this is a drone or if this is a plane?
Yeah, so there is an app, and we use it all the time here because we get complaints of noise, and we try to track these planes. So when I hear the noise, I go on the app and I can see the plane, I see the track, and like you showed now, if you click on the plane, you get the tail number, the whole thing. These drones, and this is my drone. When this is in the air at 400 feet, this is about it would look like about a small penny at 400 feet. The drones that I saw yesterday, they had to be the size of a dining room table, a small car, easily. And for a drone like that, of that size, not emitting any frequency, or maybe it's a whole new frequency, that's also very concerning. That the FBI, the Homeland Security, can't tell us, and maybe they do know, I don't know. But as far as we know, we have no idea where they're coming from and where they're going to, if they have a payload or not. They're taking pictures. It's a survey company. We have no idea.
And you deserve answers. And Mayor Mike Casale, we know that there are over 200 mayors that are in your position out there in New Jersey. We will have them on every single night until all of this is sorted out, if you'd like. But we really appreciate you trying to get to the bottom of this.
Thank you.
Now, if you went outside this morning and it felt like an Arctic blast, you are not alone. Today, millions across the country woke up to freezing temperatures and in some places, a lot of snow. That lake effect storm absolutely blasting parts of the Northeast, especially New York and Pennsylvania. And I mean, look at how fast it could come down. Barely any visibility here. But that heavy lake effect snow also set a number in the Midwest where some temperatures are 15 degrees below zero. Here's how some people there are describing it.
My tears have turned to ice. Oh, my.
Oh, this Minnesota weather is disrespectful. Man, I got heater gloves on, heater coats, 2 coats on underneath this, 2 hoodies, and I'm still freezing.
Disrespect. Well, right now it's just cold and rainy. Later tonight, things are expected to get even more disrespectful. Joining us now is NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, so how messy is it going to get in the Midwest here?
Yeah, we're not talking snow. This is ice, Gotti. So this is kind of like our first little mini ice storm of the winter season. And that's always, people aren't used to it. You walk out on the sidewalk and you get a lot of slip and falls happen. The driveways get slippery, let alone the roads, too. This pink shows you where the sleet and freezing rain is already coming down in Omaha. So it's going to be an overnight event. And early tomorrow morning when the temperatures are still below freezing, anywhere from Minneapolis, Watertown, all the way down to Omaha. We have an ice storm warning in effect for Cedar Rapids. This is where we could be like a heavy accumulation, maybe enough for some even isolated power outages. So the rule of thumb as we go throughout the winter is anytime we have an ice storm, if we get this blue color, that's 1/4 of an inch. That's kind of like the magic number for when tree limbs and tree branches start to break. And that is possible in between Des Moines and Davenport here. Eastern Iowa will be the worst of it, but anywhere traveling throughout this region, Gotti, it's going to be treacherous tonight and early tomorrow morning.
Is that all headed to the lakes? Because, I mean, I know people were hoping to see the last of the lake effect snow, right?
Yeah, so a lot of the lake effect snow is pretty much over. It's still cold, but the wind direction has changed. So right now, Detroit's 11, Chicago 17. We're still goose eggs in Fargo and Duluth for how it feels. So it's still plenty cold enough, but the wind direction has changed, and that's why we're not getting the amount of lake effect snow. We just have a couple areas here with some areas of light snow, and we did get nailed. I mean, this was impressive. Eden, New York had 42 inches. Orchard Park, home of the Buffalo Bills, was 38 inches. That rain and storm I talked about in Iowa is going to head through the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, but it's warm enough this weekend that it's all rain, Gotti. So the areas that saw that snow will actually get some rain to help try to clean things up this weekend.
And Bill, what about over here in the West? Are there any storms on the way that could help with the fire threat that we've been talking about?
Yeah, not where we need it, Gotti. Like, there's like a magic line right now, but below San Francisco, like none of the storms want to go there. They're all heading north. This is all a pretty good-sized storm coming in this evening. We got areas of heavy rain, gusty winds. It's pouring north of San Francisco up here near Ukiah, and Redding's going to get it too, and even southern Oregon. But none of this is making it to where we just haven't had any rainfall yet this rainy season, and that's south of San Francisco, and there's really none coming either. Isolated areas could get up to 5 inches, and it is cold enough at the high elevation. I know Mammoth already reported a foot of snow from this event. They're going to get more snow later on tonight. So winter storm warnings for the central and northern portion of the Sierra, and some of that this weekend will move through the Intermountain West. But Gotti, I don't even see anything in your future for like the next 7 to 10 days. Fire danger is always going to be a risk until we get that first big rain.
Yeah, it seems not fair with so much happening up north of us. Bill Cairns, thank you. Now, this time last week, at the height of the CEO murder manhunt, hundreds of tips were coming into the NYPD, and at least one of them was about Luigi Mangione, coming straight from the San Francisco Police Department. It came in the form of this missing persons report in San Francisco filed by Luigi Mangione's family back in mid-November. And after the shooting, a San Francisco cop noticed the suspect in New York looked a lot like the same guy in the missing persons report. NYPD was in the process of investigating that tip along with 400 others when a McDonald's customer and an employee in Pennsylvania beat them to the punch. Meanwhile, today we saw something from the current CEO of United Health Group that raised a lot of eyebrows. CEO Andrew Whitty saying the system is flawed in a New York Times op-ed, adding at the very top in the title, "Let's fix it." Priscilla Thompson joins us now. Priscilla, that seems like quite the statement, but it really comes down to like what he means, right? Is he talking about the healthcare system being flawed and the way insurance is paid out being flawed, or is there something else here?
Yeah, Gotti. So he didn't get into super nitty-gritty specifics in this op-ed, but he did say unequivocally that this is a flawed system. He talked specifically about how the decisions are made around coverage and the need for greater transparency around that, and acknowledging the role that United Healthcare has played in all of that. And in terms of as specific as he did get, he called for things like greater transparency, more affordability, and more just intuitive and compassionate care when it comes to the health insurance industry. And he said that this is the way to honor the life of CEO Brian Thompson. He talked about him as someone who came from humble beginnings in Iowa, and that it was always average Americans and average people that he was thinking about in terms of how to make this system better. And he said that the people who work for these insurance companies, the doctors, the nurses, and others who work for these insurance companies are just people who are looking to make the system better, and really implored America and people reading that op-ed to understand that they should not be the target of the anger and the vitriol, while also acknowledging that things do need to change and putting that call to action out there so that hopefully things can begin to move in a more positive direction. Gotti?
Yeah, we'll see what happens next. Meanwhile, the San Francisco connection, what more do we know about that missing persons report filed by his family?
Yeah, so we know that that report was filed in November by his mother, who said that the last time she had spoken to him was in July, and that it was ultimately that missing persons report. It was a poster. There were pictures of his face on that poster, and that is what San Francisco police thought of when they saw the images coming out of New York City related to the shooting, and that they did pass that tip along to the San Francisco FBI, who passed it along to New York authorities, and that we now know from 2 senior law enforcement officials that those authorities were actually able to make contact with his mother on this past Sunday, and she did acknowledge that the pictures of the suspect looked like her son. It could potentially be her son, but that tip was not something that was given priority because it was one of hundreds of tips that was coming in from the public and law enforcement agencies, and because it didn't specifically say where he was, it was sort of put in this general tip line, but ultimately the modes of communication worked, and they were able to ultimately find and arrest him, even though it may have taken them a while to get to that tip. Gotti?
And Priscilla, speaking of his family, a lot of people are talking about his family having a lot of money, being affluent, and their background being in healthcare as well. What do we know about that, and have they seen him recently?
Yeah, a very prominent family in Baltimore. His grandparents owned a number of country clubs and also some nursing homes where you get that health care connection. There are also members of his family that are serving in state government in Maryland. And he himself was on, a path that seemed destined for greatness. Graduated valedictorian from his prestigious prep school, high school, went on to earn a bachelor's and a master's from the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school. But ultimately, people began to lose contact with him about 6 months ago, and this is what has become of it. We know that he saw his attorney yesterday, that he logged a visit. We do not yet know if he's been able to see any of his family with where he's being held, but we have reached out to the family to ask those kinds of questions. But we know that they did release a statement saying that they were shocked and devastated by all of this. Gotti?
I appreciate the update. Priscilla, thank you. And did you know that it is not winter yet? The first official day of winter is actually right around December 21st, and that is crazy, right? Because it does not feel like that at all. And if you're one of those people who just wants to hide under the covers once it hits 4 o'clock in the afternoon, well, daylight saving could become just this weird thing we did in the past, because President-elect Trump announced today he would seek to permanently end daylight saving time. That's something that could see bipartisan support as we head towards inauguration, less than 40 days away now. But his cozy relationship with tech giants that are all of a sudden kissing his ring, that is a lot more controversial. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has more. Hey, Gabe.
Gotti, President-elect Trump used to clash quite a bit with tech titans, but now he is basking in their support. Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, Jeff Bezos' Amazon, and now Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, are planning to donate $1 million each to Trump's inaugural fund. Zuckerberg even recently had dinner at Mar-a-Lago, even though earlier this year, Trump publicly threatened him with life in prison if he did anything Trump viewed as illegal during the presidential campaign. Since then, the icy relationship has apparently thawed, though, especially after Trump survived his first assassination attempt. He got a call from Zuckerberg. Bezos, meanwhile, has been touting Trump's promise to reduce regulation. And then there's Elon Musk, Gotti. He's been by Trump's side virtually nonstop since the election. Of course, he's the owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as SpaceX. So he's actually a direct competitor of both Zuckerberg's Meta and Bezos' Blue Origin. Trump has been joking about his new dinner meetings with business leaders, telling our Kristen Welker, "I'm getting called by everybody." It's very interesting. Oh, interesting is one way to put it. Gotti, for tech companies, a whole lot is at stake. The next 4 years will be crucial. The Trump administration will be weighing policies on artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and antitrust enforcement. Trump says he's expecting to meet with Bezos next week. Gotti?
Interesting indeed, Gabe. Thank you. And some breaking news about that potential TikTok ban. A federal appeals court has now declined to temporarily block it. You see, last week, a separate court upheld the law that could ban the platform in just a few weeks. And then TikTok asked an appeals court to put a pause on the whole thing, kind of get some more time on the clock, which the court rejected. So next up, a possible date with the Supreme Court. Also breaking tonight, Jay-Z's rape accuser coming forward, but with contradictions in her story. Now, earlier this week, the woman accusing the music mogul of raping her when she was 13 years old spoke exclusively to NBC News. Our Chloe Malas has that investigation and a warning. The details in this story may be disturbing.
You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough about what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet. But it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000 to catch a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
No, with having autism is is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan, a more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman says she spoke to Combs's limo driver, who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver, who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, you know, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper, because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the.
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, "I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind," he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. "I have made some mistakes," she said. "Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me." The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, "Because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress." In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said this incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. "True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory."
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of, you know, being chastised by their fans.
Jay-Z's attorney also said that they're going to ask the judge to dismiss this frivolous case. And also in a statement from Sean Combs' legal team, they said in part, quote, "This is the beginning of the end of this shameful money grab." I also want to point out that Combs is behind bars at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, where he has been denied bail 3 times, and he's awaiting his criminal trial, which is set to begin here in New York in May. Back to you.
Wow, so much important context in that reporting all around there. Chloe Melas, thank you very much. And don't go anywhere, we are just getting started. Up next, nearly 20 years since a rape scandal involving 3 Duke University lacrosse players rocked the country. The woman who claimed to be the victim admits she made it all up. Liz Kreutz has that interview. Plus, California's DMV under fire after personalized license plate is seen on the streets, seeming to mock the October 7th attack in Israel. How the DMV is responding tonight. And later this hour, once upon a time, streaming services were a way to save money. It looks like a lot more people are pulling those cutting those cords, trying to get them back together as streaming prices continue to go up. That's coming up in the future of everything.
$82.99 a month? Are you serious? Are y'all, are we all on the same page with this?
Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. Daniel Pinney is joining President-elect Trump at this weekend's Army-Navy football game. He was invited by VP-elect J.D. Vance, and the former Marine was just acquitted of those charges he faced in New York City over the chokehold death of Jordan Neely. And the ex-wife of a prominent L.A. doctor found dead has been charged in his murder. In fact, she is one of 5 people arrested and charged in the crime. The doctor was ambushed by masked gunmen outside his clinic back in August. Cops are saying the group conspired to commit murder. And Evan Gershkovich is out with his first reporting since being freed from a Russian prison. The story for the Wall Street Journal focuses on the spy unit responsible for his arrest. Gershkovich was in prison for 16 months, then released in that historic prisoner exchange this past August. And today, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was taken to the hospital after apparently falling while on a trip to Luxembourg. She's visiting with several other Congress members there, but a spokesperson says Pelosi is getting excellent care. And a Pennsylvania couple is proving it's never too late to find love. In fact, it's just been confirmed that they set the world record for the oldest newlyweds. Marjorie Fitterman and Bernie Littman said "I do" earlier this year at 100 and 102 years old, so combined age of like 202. Those two fell in love after meeting on the same floor in a senior living facility. And almost 20 years ago, there was this huge scandal with the Duke lacrosse team that cast this shadow over college athletics for a really long time. It led national news for weeks, and in the end, 3 players were falsely accused of raping a woman. Now, for the first time, that woman is admitting she made the whole thing up. NBC's Liz Kreutz has a story.
No one deserves to be sexually assaulted.
Nearly 20 years after Crystal Mangum falsely accused 3 Duke lacrosse players of raping her at a party, the former exotic dancer is now admitting publicly for the first time that she fabricated the story.
I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't, and that was wrong.
Mangum, now 46, making that admission on the Let's Talk with Kat podcast from a North Carolina prison where she is serving time for fatally stabbing her boyfriend in 2011.
I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me.
In 2006, Mangum told police she was sexually assaulted by 3 men, Colin Finnerty, Reed Seligman, and David Evans, in a bathroom at a Duke lacrosse team party where she had been hired to perform. The blockbuster allegations igniting a national firestorm about race, class, and privilege on college campuses.
I think they might get away with it just because they have money.
Every member of the Duke University lacrosse team is innocent. You have all been told some fantastic lies.
The charges were ultimately dropped after no DNA, witness, or other evidence was found to back up Mangum's story. The players reached an undisclosed settlement with Duke University in 2007.
I hope that they can forgive me.
Tonight, Colin Finnerty telling NBC News, "I hope this time in jail makes her think about what the consequences are for her actions." Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
Liz, thank you. And coming up, believe it or not, these 2 people are trying to get away after committing a crime, except for they're not really getting very far. We're going to explain what's happening coming up. But first, you got to see this. An American Airlines flight to Charlotte just took off when all of a sudden, well, just take a look. Oh, I can't believe someone got that on camera. The plane landed shortly at JFK to inspect the damage. It was a bird. And as for the bird's condition, well, it's looking pretty bleak. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, and here's some of the stories happening out west that we're following right now. The Supreme Court has agreed to take on a case looking at California's strict vehicle emissions standard. Since 2012, the EPA has kind of let California set its own standards to help fight greenhouse gas emissions, but because the state takes up a big chunk of the market, those high standards have had a pretty big hold over vehicle manufacturers. Now the Supreme Court's jumping in to see if that should be allowed anymore. And police in Scottsdale, Arizona just arrested a fake Uber driver, not just for that, but for allegedly stealing people's crypto. More than $300,000 worth of cryptocurrency. Police say this guy would pick up people outside of a hotel pretending to be their driver, say he needed their phones for directions or to connect to the Uber app, then transfer cryptocurrency from their digital wallets to his. He's due in court again next week. And, this one's a good one. You see these 2 people here? Police in Washington say earlier this week These guys stole $11,000 worth of jewelry from a home, and then they tried to get away by a car, but it failed, and then they tried to escape by a boat, which also not going too great for those guys. That's not even an oar in their hands. That is like just a piece of plywood. Eventually, that little boat sank, and the two were arrested after swimming back to shore. And we've all seen like some really ridiculous personalized license plates out on the road, right? Something a bit more tongue-in-cheek than the normal boring combination of numbers and letters. Joker, Defender, they usually give you a little chuckle maybe behind the wheel when you're stuck in traffic. But tonight, California's DMV is apologizing after this was spotted here in LA. Let that sink in just for a second there. It reads, LOL, October 7th. An apparent reference to the October 7th terrorist attack in Israel. And that day saw more than 1,200 people killed, 250 people kidnapped, and sparked the deadly conflict in Gaza. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky. Morgan, what's the backstory here? Who does that license plate belong to? And is this an accident or is this on purpose?
Yeah, Gotti, all good questions. We don't know exactly who this car belongs to. The California DMV keeping that to themselves at this point in time. What we do know is this. There's a watchdog group called Stop Anti-Semitism, and that one of their members apparently saw that license plate on a Tesla Cybertruck near the Culver City area of Los Angeles some time ago. And it clearly jumped out that standing for Laugh Out Loud, October 7th, referencing, as you mentioned, that attack that left more than 1,200 Israelis dead. And this was apparently brought up to the California DMV, not by one particular person, Gotti, but the watchdog group said that they had thousands of their members across the nation email the California DMV highlighting the fact that they consider this hate speech. And after taking a closer look, the California DMV acknowledging this as such, they say as of right now that this should not have passed their review process and that they've contacted the car's owner to essentially pull that plate. They will have to get a new license plate, cannot use that for the customization there. But important to note, the driver does have the option to appeal. But again, pretty clearly, we all know what LOL stands for. We have for years and years at this point as we go with text speak. And that's why the DMV says that this was a clear violation of something they should not have let someone put on their car.
It sounds like all this is going into bureaucratic appeal and, hey, bring that license plate back. Like that license plate is still possibly out there right now.
Right. For all we know, it could be on that Tesla Cybertruck, but the DMV says at this point, because it is out there, they have made contact with the owner and they are recalling that license plate. So they did issue, I guess, a formal apology, of which we'll just read in part. This is from the agency itself, and it reads essentially that they are incredibly sorry that this went out there, and it's unacceptable and disturbing, and they're taking, quote, swift action. And they go on to say that the use of hateful language is not only a clear violation of their policies, but also a violation of our core values to proudly serve the public and ensure safe and welcoming roadways. So we don't know, how this will end up. We do know that the DMV at least has started this process. But again, that driver still has the opportunity to appeal. Highly curious as to what their defense of this license plate would be, though, in that saying it would not be hate speech.
Yeah, what a weird story. Morgan Chesky, thank you. And coming up, there is a new lead in the search for missing American Austin Tyson Syria. He's been missing for over a decade, but may have been spotted just 2 years ago. Richard Engel is on the ground tracking it all. Hey, welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Outmanned and outgunned, Ukraine's army is taking a new approach to their training methods. Kyiv is calling it a massive transformation that's going to focus on tech integration and cutting out corruption. And this comes as soldiers on the front lines are growing tired nearly 3 years into the war with Russia. And South Korea's President Yoon is about to face his second impeachment vote 10 days after he invoked martial law, to the surprise of everyone. Now, it's set for just hours from now, and some lawmakers in Yoon's own party say they're breaking ties with him this time around, and they are going to support the impeachment. But that's not breaking Yoon, who says he's going to fight to the very end. And there's a new prime minister in France, fourth one this year. President Emmanuel Macron just gave the job to Francois Bayrou, who is one of his biggest allies. His first big task, finalizing an emergency budget to prevent a government shutdown before the new year. And staying in France, an ancient relic is back home at the Notre Dame Cathedral. It's known as the Crown of Thorns, and a lot of people think it was worn by Jesus himself. Firefighters saved it during the 2019 fire, and it'll be on display starting January 10th all the way until Good Friday. And turning now to the latest in Syria, Travis Timmerman, the missing Missouri man found there, is one step closer to finally being back home. He's been flown to Jordan by the U.S. military. Meanwhile, there is a new lead in the search for missing American journalist Austin Tice. He's been missing for over a decade, but a new witness says he saw Tice alive 2 years ago. Richard Engel is tracking it all down.
After Friday prayers, public celebrations for the toppling of Bashar al-Assad's dictatorship. But so many here are also still searching for those who disappeared under Assad. This woman showing a photo of her brother, missing for 14 years. I don't know what he looks like, even if I find him, she said. American journalist Austin Tice has been missing in Syria since 2012. But tonight, a lead. We spoke to Sahar Al-Ahmad, now in Dubai. He told us he was in a prison cell across from Tice and last saw him alive in July 2022. I saw him twice. On one occasion, I stole a glance while he was walking and exercising, he said. Ahmad told us he and Tice were held at Assad's General Intelligence Prison, and he gave us a detailed description of the layout.
Ahmad said he memorized the location here, and he said you had to descend 27 steps to get to the right area. 26 and 27. It all checks out.
He said the stairs would lead to a row of cells 100 yards long.
This is the tiny, exactly, solitary confinement cell where Ahmed was kept, with a tiny slot in the bottom. And just opposite, this is the cell where Tice was kept.
We showed pictures to Ahmad, who confirmed we're in the right place. The men in these cells had time. They made art, some of it exquisite, passageways to a world out of reach. Ahmad said this wing mostly housed foreigners. They turned one wall into a blackboard.
Donkey, homar, monkey, kard. So someone was learning and teaching English and Arabic.
Tice has been missing for so long. Tonight, the FBI put out a photo of what he might look like today at 43.
The rebels who are now in power here tell me they are looking for Tice, and today they handed over another American who'd been held by the Assad regime, Travis Timmerman, to U.S. forces.
Getting closer by the day. Richard Engel, thank you for that. Before we go, it is time for the future of everything. A couple bucks here and there for different streaming services really start to add up. But how about nearly $90 for just one service? Well, social media is losing their minds over that. So we're going to be breaking down what is happening in the world of streaming coming up next. Hey, welcome back tonight in the Future of Everything. Why your streaming bundles are starting to feel a lot more like cable. But first, why make your own fireworks when the sky's got you covered? The Geminids meteor shower is peaking tonight. Here's some of what we've already seen. It is one of the strongest showers of the year, with up to 120 meteors flying by each hour. And that show is thanks to some debris left by an asteroid. But heads up, the nearly full moon tonight might dim the lights for a little bit. And a new study about teens and social media just dropped. Here's what the Pew Research Center found. Nearly half of American teens say they are online constantly. That's up from only 24% a decade ago. As for social media, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, those are still the favorites, but their popularity has slipped a little bit. We saw the biggest drop in X. Meta's WhatsApp saw users increase. So yeah, we are in this era where people are more online than ever. But you remember way back when the year was 2017. And the newest video streaming app on the block had just launched. It was called YouTube TV, and it was created to take on Netflix and Hulu. And what set it apart was being a one-stop shop for live TV. The subscription was only $35 a month, and you could get news and sports without all the hassle of a cable box or a bill. Well, fast forward nearly 8 years later, and that price has gone up 137%. Yesterday, the streaming service announced that they are upping the price of their base plan again. The new price tag as of January, $83 a month, and people are not happy about it.
We need to talk about YouTube TV because they just increased their monthly prices again, and this is officially getting out of hand.
I switched to YouTube TV Live last year from Hulu Live because Hulu kept upping their prices. Like, I might as well go back to cable.
I have 9 apps, 9 passwords, 9 debits for my bank account. I thought the future was supposed to be better, easier, more convenient. Man, they got us with the bait and switch.
Oh, and especially the passwords and the increasing prices. It is a full circle moment for customers who originally signed up for the service to escape cable. And like you just heard, some people are already, I don't know, maybe they are looking to reattach the cord they cut. Joining us now is Sean McNulty, creator and writer of The Wake Up and contributor for The Ankler. Sean, thanks so much for being with us. I mean, $83, that is a bunch of money, but that's also like not including all the other accounts that you keep forgetting to cancel when you don't binge a show. So what's going on here?
Yeah, this is what Hollywood and TV really cost. We're kind of going back to, you mentioned, 2017, 2016, when people didn't like their cable bills, right? And then big tech came in, this streaming era came in, this probably arguably 6 to 8 year period where all the things suddenly were cheap. I mean, even things like Netflix or Disney Plus was only $7 back then, The real prices are coming forward. These companies they were losing money on these properties. As a loss leader for these businesses, now, the economy has changed, the stream model has changed, where these businesses have to make their profit margins, and what they do is you're paying for it. And we've read other headlines with, big sports deals coming up. The NBA just signed 2.5 times as big of a deal they've had before for TV rights. The college football rights went up a large amount last year. Who's paying for it? The American public. This is not being, subsidized by these companies anymore, and this is what people are responding to, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a real legitimate complaint that they were sold a bill of goods that now they're being told it's something else.
Do you think that we'll start to see people, I don't know, play the Uno reverse card and head back to cable, or just like consolidate their subscriptions all in one place where they can easily be like, nope, 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 and then just resubscribe when they have something to watch?
The problem is that bundle doesn't have what it used to. You want to watch Thursday Night Football? That's on Amazon. The NBA is going to have games on Peacock exclusively next year. So even that bundle isn't what it was before. So you can go back to it, but you're still going to have these other services, the streaming services, added on to that, and you add those prices on, and all of a sudden you're back over $100 once you've added on the Amazon Prime or the Netflix or things like that. You want to watch NFL on Christmas Day? That's on Netflix. So, this is not going, the genie's not being put back in the bottle here, and that's what people are responding to. What happens is you increase churn. So people just will come on and off of these services a lot more often, which is not the interest of the companies, that are running these services. They want to keep you in for, when you had cable, you rarely canceled. You were a long-term customer for them. They can rely on your revenue. They don't want to go back to Wall Street every 3 months and be like, our revenue is going like this because people keep, coming on and off. So there is no perfect solution here. People are, $83 is steep. You are paying essentially, the people are right, the same price for, that essentially your old traditional cable bundle was. So people may go back to it. What you're seeing with some cable companies are now including these services for free. They're giving Disney Plus for free or Max for free as part of your bundle. So that may be something people will start looking at again with fresh eyes. It's like, well, I'm paying $80, $90 for the old cable bundle, but I'm getting these other services included with it that I wasn't getting on YouTube TV, for example.
Yeah, I feel like that is, it's a diabolical way, and this is probably not accurate, but every time you buy a new product, it's like, oh, wait, no, you can use this to get 3 months. And I'm like, I will save money. And then the next thing you know, I forget about both accounts, and then I have 2 accounts, and it's a huge mess. What do you think it's going to take to get, like, everybody into a room, even if it's a secret room, to just make it easier for the consumer?
It's financial pain. If this, again, if they're not making their money, they have the consumer speaking loud enough and just canceling these services. If YouTube TV and they don't make their numbers public, it's owned by Google. If they see a drastic cancellation in their subscriber base, that may cause them to change their mind about this kind of thing. The problem is there aren't a lot of alternatives. Hulu plus live TV is the same amount. You get free Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN on the ad tiers with that plan. So that's a little bit of a bonus. So in the end, as much as you were stuck with your cable bundle back in the day, you didn't have a lot of options. You had a satellite, you can get DirecTV, or you can get your cable provider in your local area. Now you're kind of stuck by price in the sense that there aren't a lot of other options out there that are cheaper. It's the only solution, as you say. You have to be more vigilant about what you're subscribed to at a given time, and remember to cancel. If you're an NFL fan and the season's over in January, you don't want to keep that subscription going until May and forget about it. That's how, unfortunately, that's the only real recourse that I think the American consumer has at this point.
There you go. First world problems. Sean McNulty, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
All right. Thanks for having me.
And finally tonight, the amount of plastic that ends up in our rivers and our oceans is so massive it can be hard to wrap your head around. And despite the damage it does to the environment, plastics are a huge part of our daily lives. So there's this one man who's making it his mission to clean up America's largest river basin, and NBC's Brad Hicks shows us how he's doing it.
Early morning on the Ohio River.
Considering the fog, we stay close to shore.
On a barge 50 miles downstream from Cincinnati.
And we're going to be working up by the island on that side.
The garbage gang is getting ready. They're taking volunteers from food giant Archer Daniels Midland on a trash collecting trip.
Got it. CrossFit.
Let's clap it out for that crew.
The cleanup is the life's work of Chad Progracki.
Woo! Great people, getting a lot of stuff.
More than 25 years ago, he started Living Lands and Waters, a nonprofit focused on cleaning up waterways in the Mississippi River Basin and beyond. To date, they've collected 14 million pounds of trash in 21 states.
It's not just the tonnage, it's also the number of people we've worked with. I think it's up to like 132,000 volunteers.
But there was a problem.
Probably out of the 14 million pounds, 10 million pounds of it was plastic.
Bulky, rigid plastics that no one would take.
And we just knew there could be something better done with it.
And after some time, decided, hey, let's make pallets out of them.
The hard plastic they collect gets chopped up, ground up, melted, molded, and presto, pallets.
They're ideal for automation, they're more sanitary, they're weather and chemical resistant, you don't have any broken wood pieces to clean up, there's no protruding nails that are ripping through product.
Plus, they're reusable and they save trees. Tammy is perhaps the only female owner of an industrial plastics company in the world.
We make a good team.
Yeah, we do.
We make a good team.
A husband and wife team, proving one man's trash is another woman's treasure.
Anybody can make a difference. That does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. Until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.